It's a 50-page outline, and we improv'd all the dialogue. And the outline's very specific in terms of context and subtext and sort of descriptions of where they're at emotionally, and it basically reads like a short story, and then you fill in all the dialogue.
So normally when you're reading a script, I mean, it's hard enough to find a script that you think that's going to be really interesting and that's going to give you a great character. Was the challenge for you for this, and the reason you accepted it, because of the fact that it gave you that ability to have a range and figure out what you wanted the character to be?
Well, yeah, I mean, Jonathan Schwartz, the producer, and I, friends for a couple of years, and I'd heard about Drake and how he was making movies, and sort of the madness that he was up to, and I was always really impressed by it, and Drake wanted to sit down with me for this, and I knew it was going to be improv, and I sort of just jumped at the chance, and I'd seen Douchebag, and I really liked Douchebag, which is Drake's, just not just randomly saying Douchebag. It's Drake's second film, and there was also improv, and I met with Drake, and then he gave me the outline, and the outline was so beautiful. I mean, it's amazing, is the movie's different from what was written on the page, in terms of, certain scenes got changed, certain things got cut, but emotionally, it's pretty much exactly what I got from my first reading, and it was really moving and heartbreaking.
Well, so you have now.
Thanks.
Can we have another round of clapping, please? So you have a script and you have this outline. And what was it like working with the outline with the director in order to find the dialogue, the characters?
It was an amazing experience. It's definitely the most magical experience I've ever had. Felicity and I met, and we had 6 days of rehearsal, and then we started shooting. And we rehearsed about 12 hours a day, and that process was instrumental in us not just learning about the characters and where they were at each point in their lives, and where their relationship was, and who they were, but also about one another. The three of us learning to trust one another and to sort of agree that we were going to go on this journey together, and that nothing we could do would be inappropriate, and that every step would sort of be us being as honest about what we were doing with one another as we could be, and about every moment, and always trusting and communicating, and trusting that we were each going to just go as far as we needed to go. And that process was amazing. Drake and I sat down and we talked about his backstory and his family, and how his lack of family contributed to him being very closed off, and how that contributed to him opening up to Anna in such a powerful way, and set up sort of the building blocks of who this person was. And then it evolved tremendously during the rehearsal process.
So you had 6 days, you have this rehearsal. Did anything change as you were shooting that made, from where you were in the rehearsal to where you were actually starting to shoot? Did you find parts that you said, oh, well, maybe we got to go in this direction? Or was it, again, still following those 50 pages?
Yeah, I mean, the rehearsals, what we did, we basically worked out each scene to the point where we could then shoot it. We sort of had all the ingredients there and mixed them together, but we didn't start, really. We just got to a point where we would then get to set and we could explore. And certainly, we had a scene, I remember, when they're in the bathtub in Catalina, and it was supposed to be, Jacob was supposed to get out because they didn't have a bottle opener, and he was supposed to put on a towel and run across the street, and it was like hee hee ha ha, and like get a bottle opener, and he's soaking wet and run back, and we got there and we're like, why the fuck would we shoot this? Like, this is so not what we've been doing with our film, it's such a kind of fabricated moment. And so we just, sat in that bathtub and kind of figured out what was happening, what we were feeling, and what we got was really a lot of silence, that sort of felt much more honest, because they want to be having a great time that night. They want to have the best night they can, so that's what she leaves with the next day. But truthfully, when you have that night and you're going to be separated from someone for so long, you end up not knowing what to do and kind of just feeling sad, and not just sad, but a lot of different things. And so that happened quite often, where we would get to something and we followed what we had been doing as opposed to what was in that outline.
And was there any time that you just got stuck, and when you did, what did you do with that?
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of takes. That's what we did. We, you know, our first day was the walk from the date, after their first date, after the coffee cup scene. And, you know, because that was pretty much one of the first things we really shot together, we did, I think, about 15 takes or something, you know, and every take was different, and we just sort of kept exploring and exploring and exploring. And you really just, I think one of the things that Drake said was that he basically just did so many takes that by the last takes we were barely thinking because we were so exhausted from going over and over and over it. But that really changed, like the last thing that we shot was the argument in the Heath when they were sitting in the park in London. And that was 2 takes. We had no light, we had an hour, so we just shot 2 takes, you know, 15 minutes each, and we got it because we had spent so much time with these people. And in our own way, we're so exhausted by this journey and by constantly going through this relationship that it just sort of came to us right away. You know?
Obviously, big production, complete script, you're dealing with a totally different thing. Which do you prefer?
You know, I think it comes down to the people that you're working with. You know, I'm really proud of Star Trek, and I'm really proud of this film. They're 2 totally different films. They're both distributed by Paramount, but they're 2 totally different films.
Thank you, Paramount.
Yeah, thank you, Paramount. Seriously, big thank you. But I think the people involved on each film are so talented and great that they make the experience, you know, and they contribute to making that film what it is. I mean, JJ and Drake are directly responsible for making good films, you know, different films, but films that I'm proud of, and characters that I'm proud of, and you know, I think I'm going to suggest on the next Star Trek that we do some improv. I think that would be fun. I don't know.
I'm sure JJ is going to say
I'm
yes
sure
to
he'll
that.
be down. I mean, like those sets, we could scrap them. It's not a big deal. But I think for me, I loved working in this extremely intimate way and being able to study every single moment to the point of exhaustion, you know, and not speaking if we didn't have to speak, and just studying the hearts and minds of these people. I think it's like I said, it's unlike anything I've ever done. It's really magical.
The script supervisor must have gone nuts.
You know, I don't even remember if we had, Jonathan's here, he could tell me. We didn't have a script supervisor, right? Yeah, no script supervisor.
That was a
I
very
don't
happy
remember.
person.
Yeah.
So, did you get a chance to see dailies before each next day of the shoot?
No. You know, we just, and I didn't want to. I mean, sometimes, I haven't done it in a long time, but sometimes I mean, I haven't asked for dailies in a long time, but I like watching playback, but on this film I didn't do any of that. It was just sort of like I stayed with this character. I really that's what I said, a huge part of it is trusting, you know, trusting that we're getting what we need and being completely unself-conscious about what's being accomplished and what's being recorded. I mean, a lot of the film, I don't remember getting that. I mean, there are moments where I was like, wow, I guess I did that. That's great, you know, and I think that's really, it's part of what makes it so magical is it's so insanely intimate. Drake doesn't allow anyone on set except for the DP who's operating. And the best metaphor for it is the scenes under the covers, because it's like we're always under the covers. It's like there's us and a camera that is sort of lost in the sheet somewhere, and Drake comes in and he pops under and he whispers something really quickly and disappears. And then we...
Not at all disconcerting.
No, you know, but you sort of... He doesn't tell you when he's rolling. He doesn't tell you when he's cutting. You're just... You know, the takes start presumably before he's rolling, and then you just kind of are living it as opposed to, you know, action, cut, and things like that.
That's a lot of trust as an actor. That can't necessarily be easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we realized very quickly, if you're going to go on this journey and you're going to try this sort of thing, you have to do that. You have to kind of commit to that and hope for the best, I guess.
When you saw it for the first time, because obviously then that was the first time you actually ever even saw a cut, any of the parts that you got, were there any times you were watching and you're like, oh, I thought that scene would have been better if I did this part that I did over here, or what did you think as you watched the flow?
I really loved it, you know. I was instantly very proud of this film and the character because I didn't remember anything of what we did.
It had nothing to do with the meth, I swear.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with intense drug use throughout the process, you know, nothing at all. No, I mean, I just didn't, it was like we we shot 90 hours of footage. And that 90 hours, I think something like, between 75 and 90. So that massive amount of footage was translated into an hour and a half, and because I didn't remember anything, all I remembered was all the homework that I did and all the character work that I did. And I watched the movie, and what was on screen was the same thing that I had on paper and all the work that I'd done, and I was really proud of that. And I just was moved by these characters and surprised by them. And I think my favorite thing about the film was that I didn't feel like it was saccharine at all, and it potentially could have been very saccharine, and it's not, it's very dry, and it works against that, and it prefers to study gray zones versus, things that are black and white, and that was something that I really appreciated about it.
I think very few actors, especially ones who have done big films, have a movie this good in their lexicon, and I think that's a telling tale of how good of an actor you are.
Oh, thanks. I don't have anything to say.
Good with that. What was the day that you sat there and you were just like, oh my God, get me out of here? Has that ever happened on that particular film?
No, I mean, there were a lot of times, that I remember sitting with Felicity and we just kind of felt exhausted and drained, but I think we all felt so lucky to be a part of this film. I still feel lucky to be a part of it, and I'm so grateful for the experience of working with everyone, on the film, that we, it's kind of what we signed up for, And I think that's true for every movie. I mean, there's always a point at which you're so tired. But it's what you signed up with. 7D, which is a, consumer level camera. We didn't have trailers, we didn't have anything. We just got together to make a movie because we cared about it. And that's, I think, extremely important to point out in a time when studios really aren't financing movies. And it's harder and harder to make a movie. The fact that you can do it we made it for, 250 grand for pretty much for nothing for someone's really nice car.
Who has a $250,000 car in here?
I'm saying like a really nice car, like a really, really nice car. Or, 5 Priuses or whatever. The fact that you can do that is so inspiring that we were just so excited to be doing it,
It's amazing because it really comes off.
Thanks.
Last question, what's next?
Probably Star Trek in the new year.
Better be.
Yeah.
Anton Yelchin, folks.
Thank you so much for coming.